We create jobs and make entrepreneurial dreams come true. ACE, a nonprofit community lender, specializes in small business loans coupled with business advisory services. ACE has loaned more than $39 million, helped over 725 business owners fulfill their dreams, and ACE has helped its clients create or retain more than 6,200 jobs. These are the stories of those businesses we've helped reach success and claim their American dream.
Welcome to ACE's Best Stories. I'm your host, Eric Holtzgall. ACE's Best Stories focuses on entrepreneurs, small business owners on their journey to building their business. We're talking today with Michael Spino. Get that right?
Yes. Founder
and CEO of TrueChampion LLC. Michael, thanks so much for joining me.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so the last name is, a lot of people say Spino, right?
Yeah.
And it's Spino.
Spino.
Just exactly as it looks.
Yes.
You can make the O big, and the people
right,
definitely do it right. So tell me about TrueChampion. What does TrueChampion do?
Well, TrueChampion is a mind and body sport training program.
Okay.
And the facet that we're focusing on right now is my main emphasis is running.
Okay.
It's different mind-body running. And with the new approach of mindfulness, it's getting a lot of attention right now.
Okay, so tell me about that.
Well, I was a championship runner in college, and then I trained for the Olympics afterwards.
Oh wow!
I went to Syracuse University, and one of the things is that I wrote a short story called "Running as a Spiritual Experience" in 1971.
Oh wow!
And it was published all over the place. It was published in the Harvard Review. It was published in a lot of things, and it was kind of before the whole running high kind of thing took off. It was actually even the jogging revolution hadn't come yet, but I had this experience where I ran and really found out about myself in this kind of, and I was able to write it down. Actually, I just wrote it right down. But 4 years later. And then I was at an institute called Esalen Institute in California. It's basically known for Gestalt therapy and things like that. But it's we had a sports center.
Okay.
It's called what's Esalen, E-S-A-L-E-N.
Well, but what's Gestalt therapy?
Excuse me?
What is
Gestalt therapy? And it was, where people in groups or individuals get together, try to work out issues that they have. And we had Gestalt therapy is a therapy that combines a lot of different therapeutic techniques. And the person named Fritz Perls, who was the sort of honcho of Gestalt therapy, was there. And Esalen got known as you go off to the mountains and work on yourself. But we started a sports center. And in the early 70s, there was a few of us that were exploring how the mind and body work in different sports. And my colleague, Tim Galloway, wrote a book called The Inner Game of Tennis that a lot of people probably know about.
Yeah.
And so I worked with the founder of the Institute, Michael Murphy, and I taught him all the things I found out about running because I had trained with some of the, greatest coaches in the world. One was a Hungarian coach who a lot of Americans went to train with in California after he left Hungary, after the Russians took over their country in the 50s and trained high-level athletes. And so I started applying those techniques, his techniques, and then we had a group. It was called a 6-month program, and every week we added another component from different aspects of the human potential movement to what I was doing with this group. And from that came a bestseller that I wrote called Beyond Jogging.
Okay.
And so I worked with recreational runners, mostly, mainly Michael Murphy. He became a world-class middle-distance runner. And then when I came to Atlanta to start a program working with high-level businessmen. I was getting paid a lot of money to run with them and to meditate with them.
So the combination, I guess, because that's what I'm looking for is so the difference between, because when I'm running,
Right.
swimming is the closest for me. So I always feel like I'm like there's nothing to disturb you.
Yes.
So you're with your own thoughts the whole time.
Yes.
And so is the concept similar? Like you're trying to get people to tap
Well, I
into
have a
certain
whole
things?
I have a whole system that I've developed over the ways, because there's certain ways that you can combine your mind and body together to run easier, run faster.
Oh, really?
Yes, and a lot of it is short intervals. One of the main things I've been trying for 40 years to get people to do is don't just go out and run around the corner.
Yeah.
It's the least efficient physiological way to do it, and it's very difficult to combine your mind and body in that kind of training.
Yeah.
The whole idea of run 20 minutes 4 days a week doesn't work. It's very difficult physiologically, and it's very hard to apply any kind of mental training to it.
So physiologically, tell me why that is.
Well, because we have something called the exercise heart range, each one of us. It's like if you take your temperature, it's 90, whatever it is, that's normal. Well, the number 220 minus your age, and 65 to 85% of that is your exercise heart range. If you don't get into that range, you don't really get in shape. Like if you go out and garden and your heart rate gets up to 110, you're not getting in shape by doing that. There's a threshold that you do that. So if you just run down the street,
Or you just run from bears.
Or you
I
just
only
run
run from bears.
if you just do something without variation, okay, then your heartbeat just goes up to a certain level and stays there.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you do like 30-second intervals, short intervals, rest periods in between, your heartbeat gets into the upper point of your exercise heart rate. Example is a lot of the exercise machines that were sold over Christmas.
Yeah.
They talk about, you can get in shape faster, but you go harder for a bit and then slower. Well, all they're doing is they're putting you on these machines and really doing your exercise heart range the way you should, and that's why people are getting in shape faster. And I discovered that the short intervals and sets that I was teaching people to get in shape with was an ideal distance to include mental training.
Pieces. Okay.
Yeah, and I do a technique called soft eyes, where you're looking in and out at the same time.
So you're really getting sort of two benefits for one. Because you're running and you're also doing the meditation.
Right.
And a lot of people who come on and I talk with, and my clients talk about meditation and how important it is.
Yeah.
So it's like, I got to fit in meditation and exercise. So you're combining
Well,
the
that's
two.
a good point. Thank you. I'll use that one. That's right. Yeah. I mean, it's like a moving meditation where you're looking in and looking out. That's not the only way you involve mental training with physical training. There's also scripts like guided imageries and visualizations. And when you do those, you transfer them over to your mental capacity.
Okay.
But these active visualizations that I call them with soft eyes allows people to get rid of some of the negative images in their mind. Somebody might run and say, I'm just fat, I can't do this, But if you say, okay, all you have to do is 20 seconds, and I use the different terminologies like the Hungarian coach, fresh swing, good swing, 50% easy for 10 seconds or 20 seconds, visualizing instead of like I'm fat, I can't do it, like a rope pulling you. And so I did my PhD on distractive visualization, and that's distractive visualization and event rehearsal. That's my PhD was on how to get ready for a big event over a period of time.
Okay. Any big event or a big event like a running event?
Well, it works best for a big event rather than something you do every day.
Yeah.
And
so just so that because I'm very curious about, you talked about going and just running around the block for 20 minutes 4 times a week is not effective. But if you go run 20 minutes and you do intervals, is that effective?
Yes.
Or do you need to be running longer?
No, well, it's like a dance class.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I teach breathing techniques, visualization techniques, gaits and tempos, and then the person has an actual training program.
Right.
And then they get the training for every single day. Because, for instance, you're only supposed to up your training 10% a week. And there's certain concepts that people don't have to know them They're built into the training program.
Well, and I talk all the time because I work with entrepreneurs and small business owners about wanting the instant, because we're in a society of instant.
Yeah.
And these kind of things take consistency and time. And
they take a little bit of time. Now, I was a world-class runner.
Yeah.
And I got a full scholarship to the university I was a state champ in high school.
Yeah.
So I know what it takes to develop it. Some people want to achieve wellness, and that's a certain thing. And then others want to perform well.
Yeah.
So there are different sort of concepts. The performing well is more of a circle that you get to a peak and then you start again. But I think the main thing to think about is when I show people what these techniques, breathing techniques, visualization techniques, one like where you surge, go bing like that, and you surge forward. All those are to bring your heartbeat up.
Yeah.
Use breathing to be able to run faster, different things like that. And I put them in a sequence so the person can just look at those sequences and follow them, and the training effect will take place because the physiological principles and the mental principles are built into what they do.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And the concept of like confusion, the human body, you go do something new and then the next day you're sore because you've not used those muscles in a while or whatever.
Right.
So we're going to go to commercial break, and when we get back, I want to talk to you a little bit about, you come up with this concept and this idea. And I talk with people all the time who have a concept or an idea, or they've thought of something and then they want to make it a movement. And you got executives who were hiring you. You had people who how did you get, so don't answer me yet. Don't answer me yet. Okay. So we're going to talk about it when we come back.
Okay.
But I want to learn how you convinced them.
Okay.
What was it that you did?
Right.
And then how have you kind of used that along your career?
Okay. That'd be great.
Yeah. So back in just a second, we're talking to Michael Spino. He is the founder and CEO of TrueChampion LLC. You're listening to Ace's Best Stories. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw, and we'll be back in just a minute.
If it wasn't for ACE, my business may have closed in 1 year.
If it wasn't for ACE, my business wouldn't be expanded as much as it's expanding right now. They were there for me at the time of my need.
If it wasn't for ACE, we would not be here today.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for ACE, I would very much still be cooking at an hourly rate, and I would have never impacted hundreds of lives and an entire community.
I still remember going to different kind of banks, big banks, and with papers, and these people send me back because I don't have, I had experience in the restaurant business, but I don't have, everything else this bank needed, and I believe in me.
I did the research in Adult Day. I had experienced it personally because my grandfather had Alzheimer's, so I wanted to do the business myself. Get into it because I knew I could make a difference.
Initially, when we started, there was only one person, which would be me. And then the company I've grown from 1% to 8, and we provide quality assurance, quality control testing for FDA-regulated companies.
I think Grace not only completely understands what it's like to start off in an office connected to your laundry room or wherever she was, but she also understands the growth process, and I think that she does an excellent job of making sure that everybody who works with ACE has an understanding of the kind of struggles and celebrations that you can have.
ACE has helped us with putting our business idea into the market, working with us with the business, actually showing us, guiding me personally, how to solve some of my marketing issue problems or with the business planning.
You don't meet many lenders that are invested in your success. And, from their classes or presentations, seminars, they really do have a vested interest in your success.
The best advice I can do to small business owners is follow your dreams. You know, always follow your dreams, follow your heart.
Have a plan. Just because you have a passion for it doesn't mean that you can start a good business.
Get ready for the ride of your life. And definitely make sure that you look out for fantastic resources like ACE.
ACE is the way to go.
You're just the best. They really are.
And we're back. You're listening to Ace's Best Stories. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. We're talking to Michael Spino he's the founder and CEO of TrueChampion LLC. We're talking about a topic that is probably the reason I would never do a triathlon. So I could do the bike. I'd love the swimming. I love swimming. I could swim, just swim. The running piece has not my favorite, but you're all over it. You know that very well.
Well, what happened to me is that I was at Esalen, and then I got asked to come to Hilton Head Island and do for the summer by Charles Fraser. He's the one that developed Hilton Head Island. And someone said to me, "Why don't you come to Atlanta and let's figure out what to do with this?" Because so I went to Atlanta, and he hooked me up with very, very high level businessmen, mostly like. I don't want to say their names, like Charlie Ackerman,
right,
people like that. And they paid me an enormous amount of money to run with them and to meditate with them. But I felt unfulfilled in a way because I had been trained for competitive running. So when I got the opportunity to coach at Georgia Tech in the 80s, I did that, and I developed a lot of 4-minute milers and high-level athletes, All-Americans. And then I also coached for 12 years at Life University.
Okay.
And we won 12 national championships, the most ever in a row. I recruited a lot of kids from different countries, and I applied my technique, especially the event rehearsal that I eventually did my PhD in, to get people ready for
So you're
events.
Dr. Spino. You should tell people that.
Okay. Yeah.
They don't know that.
Okay.
But you might be my father-in-law. He's a
Okay.
doctor too, and he's like, but I don't really go by Dr.
Yeah.
Spino.
Well, it's funny because in Europe, nobody really pays attention to it. And I have a lot of friends there that I do work with. But I recognized, and other people did too, that if I did an event rehearsal with my team for 10 days or so before a big national championship, in cross country, you're only as good as the depth of your team.
Right.
And so my 4th man and my 5th man always did well. And that's why we won so many championships. And a lot of people would come back and say, "Oh, my guy was sick. Some guy fell in the hole." But I'd have people rehearse, I'd write a script. I'd work with each of them and their strengths and weaknesses and put it into a script.
So tell me, what do you mean by an event rehearsal?
Event rehearsal is you run through the event in your mind and you think about all the different options of things that can happen. Like in cross country, it's like a 5-mile race, and we run in the same national course each year. So last year, what was the area that felt comfortable for you, that you feel good about? What was the challenges when you get to that? You start to pull back a little bit. And we keep on running those through our minds so that we get to a certain point,
it was the intent to, because I could see that. I did a race with some friends, and there's one hill I can remember that I was like, I didn't think I was going to make it to the top of that hill.
Yeah.
So is the point of the event rehearsal to be back in that place and then to come up with some way of getting through it?
Right.
Okay.
And, oddly enough, what people in a big race are nervous mostly about downhill. That they got past a lot in the downhill. They couldn't let themselves relax and just go with the flow, and they'd tighten up by people running by them.
Right.
And the main thing is your 4th and 5th man. So I wrote a story called The 5th Man about being the coach of a team, and your first guys are coming by, and then where is that 5th man? And you're on the trail, and you keep walking up. Where is he? Where is he? And when we won our first national championship, some little kid that no one would kind of recognize came by, and looked up, and I knew he was going to do really well. And that was such a magical moment. He'd go into the mountains and then come out in the last sprint. And I could tell he was going to do really well, And if he held off a couple of people or beat one person, would win the national championship. And it was all on him. And that was such a great thing for him too, because he'd never had the experience of being the one that won the big race for us.
Yeah, a good confirmation. Yeah.
Yes.
So as you've gone through and come up with these philosophies and thoughts and put these things together, we're talking a little bit about, people say they want new and they want change, and then they resist it.
Yes. So, that's if I can get people to give it a chance. I've coached, people have broken American world records. Sometimes someone, like I coach a lady I started with her when she was 48. Now she's 55, and she is 10 seconds faster than when she started. And if people just give it a chance. I was telling you, Eric, when we started today, I'm getting my book reprinted.
Which book?
It's called Beyond Jogging, The Inner Spaces of Running.
Yep.
And 47 years later.
Wow.
Called this mindfulness running movement. And these two fellas read the book and said, this is where it all started. And they just contacted me, and it's going on. It's such an amazing renewal.
Yeah.
Because it is true that I discovered this earlier than anyone else, because I had the influence of Michael Murphy and Esalen Institute and my background in competitive running. So
you were sort of a prophet.
Yes.
And prophets get sacrificed.
I've had some hard years and things but I really got into the training competitive runners, and coached, people that were trying for the Olympic trials and teams.
So that sounds like that would be the conversation. So, hey, I can train you. And then when you got them into the training, then you would try some of the practices and techniques.
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
So you used something that they were familiar with to begin with to get them involved.
Right.
You didn't walk up to them and say, hey, I got this thing. It's called mindfulness running.
Well, just slowly by slowly. Yeah. I mean, now I coach some 14-year-old kids at Holy Spirit Prep School. Yeah. Just because I had left it and I missed and someone said, why don't you come to the school? The fella that was coaching there is not going to do it. And I love it. And last year we had the top 9th grader in the state in cross country, and is probably going to run in a race in Madison Square Garden next month. So, you get that sort of thrill of watching this. And the greatest thing is when your people are going to run good, and you just have a sense of it, and you're involved in that, and you're involved in the emotional aspect of it.
So have you always been sort of involved in running in some way?
Well, I discovered running. I used to run to the store for my mother and to get her ice cream or something, And then the high school I was at, you had to run across the town to go to the shop class every week. And I'd always be first, and then I would get buy donuts or something. But then I went out for the track team, and I wasn't good right away. But then after they put me in the mile and stuff, then I was undefeated, and I was in the state championship. And, people used to come watch me just run the mile, because I'd lap people in the mile.
Yeah.
And, I played basketball, and our punishment of running, I liked it more than it wasn't a punishment.
It wasn't a punishment. But from throughout your career, have you always been focused around the concept of running? Has it always been running your career?
Yeah, since high school.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Since high school. I mean, I played basketball in high school, and I was really good, because I'm very obsessive. Yeah. So I'd take 1,000 shots from every place. I was a really good shooter. But yeah, I mean, then when I went to college and when I ran, and then I started having these experiences while I was running, and then I trained with the Olympics. Then I trained with a coach called Percy Cerity from Australia, and he coached the greatest runner that ever lived, Herb Elliott, never lost a race.
Oh, wow.
And it's really nice. 2 years ago, it's on my website, I had a conversation with Peter Snell from New Zealand, they never were in the same time frame with each other, but there's people that say Peter Snell could have beat Herb Elliott, but Herb Elliott never lost the race. But this coach, Percy Cerity, had this approach, this this go back to nature, run up sand dunes, all these kind of things, lift weights. And so I have some of the iconoclastic picture. I have the picture of he and his greatest athlete running up a sand dune. I have the original of that.
Oh, wow.
So that's been in my books, and it'll be in the reprint and all that.
There was an obsession. I'm just curious because you're here. So I'm going to ask the question. So there was this obsession several years ago with like barefoot running, like running with shoes or running without. What's your opinion on that?
I don't think that's really a relevant thing. I mean, when you run on a beach, flat beach, and you run barefoot, you can't run very well.
Yeah.
Some people say you can. The best way to run barefoot is up a sand dune, like Percy Cerutty and Elliott did. He had the sand dune. I went to visit their camp in Australia, and going up those sand dunes barefoot, that's the kind of thing. I think running on the beach, running barefoot is not good for your feet.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. There was a whole thing for like a period of time where people were like running through woods with like these barefoot shoes and stuff, and they kind of faded away.
Well, there seems to be different things like having a different posture or something like that. And I have friends that are the greatest coaches right now, like Joe V. Hill is 87 years old. He's still coaching. And if they believe in something, then it's a real thing. If not, it's just something.
Probably a fad.
Yeah,
it's probably
something
a fad.
that's going to come and go.
So your book is being reprinted. What else is on the horizon for you? What else are you working on or doing?
We have a new business plan.
Okay.
That Ace helped me get funded.
Yes.
And I found the person on Uplook.
Oh, okay.
And he's here in Atlanta. We've really hit it off. We're getting a new website that's going to be with the first product, that of TrueChampion, and I'm hoping that in New York maybe I'll find some investors.
Okay.
Because I was struggling, who's going to be the investor? But now this company, these two fashion guys, they've done great in fashion, but they just got bored with it.
Yeah.
And they went to India and meditated for a while, and they came back, and I have a feeling this book is going to lead to other things.
Yeah, and so product, is it anything you can tell us, or it's a secret?
What's that?
What you're launching? You said a product?
Well, yeah, it's called Mindful Runner, and I've taken the True Champion has 8 coaches in different sports, and that didn't work too well. We didn't have enough marketing money. We didn't have enough concept. I got great coaches, but I've been told by entrepreneurs that sometimes you do the first thing, it seems right. You have to do it. You have to kind of change it a little bit.
Right.
So I still have those, but I'm starting with the running. The others are like, soccer and crew and basketball.
Well, you got to get a niche working.
I think so.
And then I've
discovered that in over this period of time. It's been about 3 years.
Oh, wow. Oh, well, we wish you the greatest of luck. It's been
thank
very
you.
interesting talking to you. You have an interesting background.
I appreciate it.
And also the fact that you've been able to take something that you love and do well and turn into kind of your career.
Yes.
Not everybody does that.
Right.
Not everybody does that. So you've been listening to Ace's Best Stories. I'm your host, Eric Holtzgar. We've been talking today with Michael Spino. He's the founder and CEO of True Champion LLC. Join us each week as we bring you another Ace's Best Story where we talk about another entrepreneur, small business owner, someone who turned their passion to their business and what it takes to actually make that successful. Until then, I'm Eric Holtzcott. We'll see you then.
Okay.